I'm Zach Starr, that's Gavin Toney, and this is Sixers Pregame Live. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the More Than Philly Sports Network for another production. We hope that many of you enjoyed our passionate conversation earlier in the day for those who had a chance to watch. Otherwise, we'll be pushing out the links on our social media later this evening about the NCAA and some of the issues surrounding that. We covered a lot of that earlier in great detail. I know we had a good chance to talk about that. Gavin and I have had a chance to talk off the show a little bit, of course, as we do try to plan to address some of these issues. But we're back tonight. It is 9:35 p.m. Grab your coffee, or in my case earlier, some iced tea. And let's get started because we are back on the West Coast for the last time this season. Thank goodness we get to actually watch some games 10 o'clock later on. My teachers are not going to be happy with me logging on to Zoom late tomorrow. But as always, joined alongside my co-host, Gavin Toney. Gavin, how are you doing today?
Zach, I'm doing great. Listen, I'm in a little bit of a panic right now, right? My girls are playing right now. Okay, UConn women's basketball, they're playing right now. Syracuse is giving me a little bit of a heart attack. So, all right, I don't know how to feel right now. I'm a little bit anxious, all right? Because if we win this game, Caitlin Clark dropped 35 points versus Kentucky. Zach, we're going to get into another day about her and the rest of March Madness. But besides that, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Look, we'll keep you all updated throughout the show with UConn's game. Currently, right now, the score 24-19, 6:37 left in the second quarter. Syracuse and both men's and women's have been putting up phenomenal fights, so certainly should not be counting either of them out. But with that being said, of course, before we do begin today's show, we want to start a little bit on a more somber note for those who may be aware of yesterday's incident out in Colorado. We lost, unfortunately, 10 lives as well as a police officer on duty due to a mass shooting. I mean, before this gets political, because unfortunately everything does, from the humane perspective, from person to person, we are sending our prayers, thoughts and prayers in its entirety to the state of Colorado, to everyone affected. Unfortunately, this happens way too much, whether it be legislation, culture change, whatever. We as a community have to make sure that we're doing our part to ensure that we can protect ourselves. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, this is a reality. Make sure you hug your loved ones tight tonight. Other than that, I mean, you can only feel so much for these families. This unfortunately happens way too much, and it seems like each one's just an individual event that people sweep under the rug. We are going to, Gavin and myself are going to continue to speak and discuss how we can address this more formally on the show, but kind of in the heat of the moment, just happened a little more than 24 hours ago. We're sending our thoughts and prayers today to the entire state of Colorado, to anyone affected, and of course, the whole world. All of us as humans hate to see this kind of things unfortunately unravel, especially in our communities.
Zach, we're people at the end of the day. Zach, I remember telling you earlier in our early pre-show, I said if I have a cut and you have a cut, the first color that's gonna come out is gonna be red, because we're all humans, regardless of your race, religion, gender. We're all human beings at the end of the day. And when you see a heinous act like that, you just hate to, you really hate to see it. Zach, that was pure disgusting what took place in Colorado, and Zach, that was utterly disgusting what took place in Atlanta, Georgia. But sadly, I hate to say, that's nothing new, Zach. We've seen it, in recent history, going all the way back to when I was in elementary school with Sandy Hook, elementary school students, to a couple years ago to Parkland, Florida, with that mass shooting. We had to do better as a whole, ladies and gentlemen. I hate seeing people lose loved ones. My thoughts and my prayers go out to those that lost, and we just have to do better as a whole. Remember, Zach, we're people first, we're humans first, regardless of race, religion, gender, anything. We're all human beings. We're put on this earth to, love, respect, and work together. Because, like Zach, like you told me off the show, time's limited. All right, we don't know. Today could be your last day. You don't know. Your time's limited on this earth. You gotta spend it in positive ways and make a positive impact before you leave.
Without a doubt. I mean, I think the final message there is we continue to progress on this story and learn more about some more prevention measures down the road. Hug your loved ones tight. For everybody out there, live your life to the fullest. That's what we have to do as a community, including on one of those parts as we talk about Unite Through Sports. Speaking of sports, we'll get right into it now. Sixers Warriors pregame live. We are live right now, based outside of Philadelphia, of course. 76ers are about 3,000 miles that way, which I think is west. I hope I'm right. But you know what I mean. Oracle Arena, is this their first time playing there? They did play there once last year.
That's not even
the pandemic. It was late February. Right before the pandemic, they did play. They lost to a team that was very banged up. But yeah, go ahead.
So that's not even Oracle no more. They actually moved.
I'm
Sadly.
sorry, Chase Center. That's what I meant to say. I meant to say the new stadium. I meant to say, yes, the Chase Center. This is only the Sixers' second time playing in the Chase Center. I don't think any former Warriors are on the Sixers seeking revenge tonight. I don't think the same for the Golden State Warriors. Of course, Eric Pascal playing against his former hometown team as he was on Villanova. Steph Curry is also out tonight with a tailbone contusion. Seth Curry is out with an ankle injury. Joel Embiid continues to be sidelined with the knee extension. However, I do believe he did travel with the team, and they are possibly expected to reevaluate him and possibly see if he can play in the final leg of the road trip, which would be the game against the Denver Nuggets. With that being said as well, we do want to kind of kick it off by saying this. The ESPN Power Rankings came out today. The 76ers, number 1 over the Utah Jazz. They were 4 last week, a team that has went 4-1 since Joel Embiid's absence. They've been crushing it, whether it be against inferior teams like Chicago and a few others that they should be beating. Close wins against a fairly average to good team in the New York Knicks, and a really good effort against the Milwaukee Bucks. I know they lost that game and they blew a 19-point lead, but all things considered, that was a good effort by the Sixers. The Sixers are rested. They have traveled. They're going up against a team that is definitely not at its maximum talent. That maximum talent is only one game above 500 as well, though. So I'm not going to sit here and say it's an easy win when you don't have Seth Curry, when you don't have Joel Embiid. But Ben Simmons should take over tonight. No one's going to be able to stop him if he chooses to go inside. And, of course, a guy like Danny Green trying to back up his good performance the other night. I'd hope so because he looked pretty good. Shake Milton as well. I like to see Tyrese Maxey get some more minutes because he is a scorer. I love his mentality. But those are just some of the basics tonight. Again, you're playing a team that is worse than you. 76ers definitely should win tonight. It just kind of depends how it unravels.
Zach, it's crazy how you're playing a team that's worse than you, but as soon as they get Klay Thompson back, they're going to go back to being title contenders. It's crazy how one man makes a difference, and in reality, it does. Having said all that, there's no Steph Curry. Zach, you know I'm a big Curry guy. All right? I think you know my opinion when it comes to Steph Curry.
You go from 2-0 tonight.
Exactly. You go from 2-0, Zach. If you're the Sixers, and we know how this team goes, they always like to play down to their opponents. Like where there's a game where they should be destroying their opponents, where their opponents should have no chance. They should take every soul out of them. They don't do it. Zach, we saw versus New York Knicks. The New York Knicks had no business being in both those games that the Sixers played against. But guess what? They were. Zach, if you're the Sixers tonight, Ben Simmons, the Utah Jazz Ben Simmons, the one that we saw in Utah, has
against the best defensive. But I asked about that. Defensive Player of the Year rankings came out today. Rudy Gobert is once again atop Ben Simmons. We'll discuss that in a minute, but continue, Gavin.
Well, Zach, but you have to, once again, Ben Simmons, you have to show out. I think the reason why I'm putting this all on Ben Simmons is because if your only hope that's going to stop you is James Wiseman. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, I've been watching Warriors games recently. Zach, when I was watching Warriors games, James Wiseman hasn't been nothing too special except for maybe the first game. All right, I'm not really too happy about James Wiseman at the moment. Don't get me started. But
he's got a lot of raw talent, but he's got a lot of work to do.
He has a lot of raw talent, but Zach, his effort is like an effort recently. Zach, he missed a test that before back in the day wouldn't be a big deal, but now that's like it's like not wearing a mask. It's like a level 1 crime. Like you're about to go to jail for it. But it's like just the lack of effort from James Wiseman. If James Wiseman is the only reason why I'm not going to score in the paint, Ben Simmons, I have major issues. There should be no reason. I think Ben has to go for 30 tonight. That's my big key.
And I would say a guy he's been equivalent based to or compared to, I should say, and I don't fully agree with it, but I get it, would be Draymond Green. Now, Draymond Green is playing tonight. He's been battling some injuries the past 2 years, but he's been pretty consistent in the lineup the past year or so. But he did say earlier today he believes he's the best defender of all time. There are 2 parts to that. Gavin, I'm sure you'll bring up guys like Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, Michael Jordan, all 3 of them, great defenders. I don't agree with Draymond at all, but I'm going to play devil's advocate. I'm going to argue for him. This is a very soft league, right, Gavin? Fouls are called very frequently. So isn't it harder to be a good, clean defender today than it was in the 90s where you could keep Michael's rules, where you could do things to him that would not get away with now? I mean, Dennis Rodman detailed it for everybody, the amount of things they were able to do without getting fouls called on them. Do you think defenders today have a harder time, number one? And number 2, what do you think about Draymond Green's comments?
Well, first of all, Zach, I do believe that defenders have a hard time in this league because, Zach, We've seen it when someone jumps into you when they're shooting a three, it's a foul on the defender, not offense. And then if you literally and you know how I feel about this, if you literally poke a guy, that's a flagrant two. If you yawn, that's a technical foul. Like the league
If you
is
motion anything towards a ref, you're getting ejected. You're done.
listen. It's like when it comes to defense, I gotta give a lot of defenders credit because it is soft. It's hard to play defense, and everything's a foul nowadays. So when you look at a guy like Ben Simmons, Kawhi Leonard, Rudy Gobert, Draymond Green, I don't know about that just yet. Look, Zach, I gotta give Draymond Green credit.
He's past his prime. I'd say he's past his prime. I don't have the sharpest memories of him, but I'd say from 2013, 2014, whenever he was drafted and the Warriors started really accelerating, for a second round pick to go for. I mean, he was part of that war. If it wasn't for him, the Warriors don't have all the rings that they do. Klay Thompson, Steph, and KD maybe, but the pre-era with that 15, and then of course they lost in 16. Draymond Green was a crucial part of that. He took on the one of the best, if not the best, offensive player on the other team, and of course dished it out. He did some of the things on offense that aren't necessarily scoring. He did used to shoot, by the way. He had like 30 points in Game 7 in 2016. For those who forget that he can score. But best defender of all time, I don't know. Like who has he faced? Who has he faced that he shut down? Has he ever shut down LeBron? LeBron's numbers in the finals have been nothing short of terrific. Has he shut down? I don't know. Has he shut down Chris Paul with the Lob City era? Has he shut down some of these other guys? I don't know. I'll have to look back and see. But I don't like remember. He gets blocks. He gets some steals. But how often does he take on the toughest assignment all game? When it comes down to it, Michael would take on the best player. Even the Rodman and Pippen may even arguably better. The dog mentality and Kobe as well and LeBron. I'm going to add in there too. I know, Gavin, it hurts for you to hear that. But late in the game when you're putting him on the best player, is Draymond Green doing that? I have not seen it in recent memory. I've seen Iguodala a lot on LeBron from the finals. Gavin, I'm sure you remember a lot of that. I don't remember a lot of Draymond on LeBron.
Well, Zach, when you look at the NBA Finals, you're right. You don't see – when you look at LeBron's numbers, and I'm really going to hate saying this, but LeBron's numbers do not favor Draymond Green's argument, not one bit, because LeBron James has gone off against the Warriors in the finals, Zach, as much as I hate it. But you're right, Zach. He's past his prime. No one fears Draymond Green anymore. And I'm coming out and say, Zach, anytime –
They fear Kawhi. If Kawhi faces you, you're not going to have an easy time scoring.
You fear Kawhi Leonard. You fear Ben Simmons, and not a lot of people will admit that, but it's the truth. Rudy Gobert, as like a lot of people say, you can't score on Rudy Gobert. You really can't in the paint. It's a little bit difficult. Joel Embiid, otherwise, that's my MVP. But Zach, Draymond Green, anything before Kevin Durant, since he's been drafted, anything before Kevin Durant, that's been fine. Zach, you know how I feel about the finals where they blew a 3-1 lead. You know how I feel about LeBron James, a little soft. It's a new nickname for you, by the way, Lee Soft. You know,
ironic enough, Game 5, no Draymond Green, and of course. We know the story between LeBron and Kyrie combining for 82.
But I will say this, Zach. To say all time, no. Because when you think of all-time defenders, Dennis Rodman comes to mind. You got guys like Isaiah Thomas, Bill Laimbeer, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen. Shaq was a beast in the paint. Like, those guys are playing real defense. And any of my 90s, you know, our parents.
Well, that's my question, though. You say real defense, but then again, you also were able to hack more. You were able to do more. So back then you saw the pace of play was much slower. You're looking at 80s and 90s for score. And you look at today, 110, 120. Every team is averaging over 100 points per game in this league since the past 2 years. And Knicks were actually the last team to not average over 100 points a game. Shocker. But you look at the NBA today, it is harder to play clean defense because clean defense has become so ticky-tacky. If you sneeze on a guy when he's shooting a three, whether it's a legitimate attempt or not, they're going to the line to shoot three, and then you have foul trouble, of course. So that's my question then, which would put Kawhi Leonard, Ben Simmons, and yes, I'm going to say Draymond Green in the conversation for best defender of all time. Then again, everybody brings up, well, the 90s were tougher. The 90s were tougher because you got away with more as a defender. So offensively, I get it. Part of the GOAT debate, Michael Jordan, I get it. Yes, I'm going to sit here and stand by your comments, Gavin, because I agree the NBA is very soft today. But there's quite a chance that we are seeing the greatest defender before us between one of those 3 or 4 guys that I just named, just because of considering foul trouble and things like that. I'm curious to see how many personal fouls are average per game. Great defenders like Ben Simmons, Draymond Green, Rudy Gobert, and Kawhi Leonard, they probably averaged 4,000 or 5,000 a game. Back then, Scottie Pippen, Draymond, guys like that were maybe averaging 2.
But Zach, here's my. So we talk about Kawhi Leonard, right? All right, look, think about it. Kawhi Leonard has shut down LeBron before. Zach, it might not be like pure shutdown down.
No, he has against the plus minus with him defending LeBron in the Spurs Heat series.
LeBron's list. Exactly, yeah. So Kawhi Leonard's got the best of LeBron James. Zach, Ben Simmons got the best of Bradley. A few players, Luka Doncic and a couple. Our guy for the community has a stat up about that. But Draymond Green, unless memory serves correct, the only guy I think he got to was Anthony Davis, and that was when Anthony Davis was kind of injury ridden. He wasn't fully healthy, but I'm not going to take anything, credit. The guy's a walking triple double, and he sets the defensive tone. Now, if you want a guy to talk about that sets the defensive tone, that sets the meta, that urges people to play defense, oh yeah, I got to put Draymond Green number 1 because no one else I vocally see gets in people's faces about playing defense. But Zach, I gotta give it to Kawhi Leonard. You want to talk about pure shutdown? If Kawhi Leonard's on you, you're not scoring. You're having a horrible day. Zach, even in 2K, if Kawhi Leonard's guarding Kevin Durant, I can't do nothing.
You press X, it's almost a guaranteed steal.
It's a guaranteed steal. But Zach, that's why guys like Paul George, and then you got your perimeter. You also got to think about the type of defenders too. Kawhi Leonard can play everywhere, perimeter and in post. Draymond Green can give you a little bit of both. Then you got your strictly perimeter defense, Klay Thompson, Paul George. Anyone else come to mind? You got Ben Simmons to go anywhere you want. Danny Green's a decent perimeter defender. Like you said, the game has changed a lot from what you can do, and there's a lot of defenders that can play both post and play perimeter. So like when you talk about Rudy Gobert, Zach, he's not a great perimeter defender, but when it comes to the post, we talk about him.
He's the best.
One of the best, yes.
Well, I'd say best at the moment. That brings us to our next conversation before we get to our final predictions, picks, lines, and more between the Sixers and the Golden State Warriors coming up. But before that, the Kia MVP rankings did come out this week. Joel Embiid's down to 4. We're not going to talk about that today. He's hurt, whatever. It's only been 1 week, but whatever. But
I just want to say one thing. Just because a guy goes out, you can't forget what they did. Zach, I get the MVP is a weekly thing, but as soon as Joel Embiid went out, everybody was quick to throw LeBron James in there, and
LeBron James got hurt too. I mean, I think it was Jokic was number 1 this week, and then Lillard and James Harden under the top 5, which is very well deserving.
My problem is you can't forget about what the previous. You can't forget about what happened before. Zach, you can't forget about that.
Does it hurt his argument though that the Sixers are 4-1 without him since he's been out with this injury?
Yes and no, Zach. I'm going to say yes because they're still winning, but I'm going to say no because they're not putting up as many points and they're not really destroying teams. Zach, the defensive edge of this team, it's a little suspect. I question at some points. 19-point lead given up. 2 close games to New York Knicks. Joel Embiid win or let one of those 2 things happen.
Possibly. Again, we have to see how that rolls when he comes back. MVP, of course, is a year-long award. Regular season, of course, playoffs not included. They'll be voted on. It will be decided later in the year. If he comes back and continues his reign, I have no reason to believe he won't be the MVP by the end of the year. But let's talk about the key defensive player ladder. Number 1 this week was Rudy Gobert, topping Ben Simmons for the first time in a couple of weeks. And then number 5, a surprise, TJ McConnell, coming off a 10-steal game last week. We're not going to cover too much on McConnell. I think that's pretty funny. I don't think he'll be Defensive Player of the Year, but good for TJ. Always proud, making us proud as one of the original processes. But on top of all of that, Ben Simmons goes down to number 2. My case is simple. Rudy Gobert, you certainly can't deny how good he is, but when you have a player that guards 1 through 5 and routinely shuts them down, I'm not sure how you can put a player who's purely a shot blocker above them, at least right now, based on how Ben has been playing.
Zach, who guarded Julius Randle in the last New York Knicks versus the Sixers? It was Ben Simmons predominantly, right? Maybe at the end it was Tobias Harris.
It was Tobias, yeah, because he had the step back 3, but Ben Simmons for the most part.
Okay, Julius Randle literally shot them out the game. 7 for 23. Ben Simmons guarded Julius Randle majority of the time. All right, let's go back to Luka Doncic. Zach, what happened to Luka Doncic? He has 7 turnovers. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't think Ben Simmons is MVP, and people are going to, excuse me,
Defensive player of the year.
Defensive player of the year. If you don't think Ben Simmons is defensive player of the year because you're going to bring, well, Bradley Beal 61 points, Devin Booker 34 points. That's because Doc Rivers puts him on those guys at the end when it's too late.
No, he tends. I mean, he'll let him preserve his energy to step up when they need to. But if they're struggling early, he puts them on them. It's a very interesting concept. It's kind of like in football. Will the best corner follow the best receiver all day, or when it really matters?
I mean, Zach, I have it right here. When Ben Simmons guarded Russell Westbrook, he was 7-18, 1 for 4 from 3, and then 5 turnovers, and he blocked Russell Westbrook once. Pascal Siakam, 5 for 17, 1 for 9 on threes, 2 turnovers committed. Donovan Mitchell, he had Donovan Mitchell at 8 and 21 for 3-11 on threes. Had Donovan Mitchell complaining to the refs after the game.
Had Donovan Mitchell tossed.
Got Donovan Mitchell tossed. Zach, Gordon Hayward, 5 for 12, 2%. Like, and these are everybody that he's guarded against. RJ Barrett, 2-11, 0 for 5 from 3. Luka Doncic, as I mentioned. I mean, the list goes on and on. Damian Lillard, 3 for 9, 3 for 4. De'Aaron Fox, 2 for 8, 1 for 5. I mean, how much else do you want me to say? Zach, and that was just all that full community had. There's probably even more out there. Ben Simmons is defensive player of the year. Let's cut the crap. Zach, it's hard to ignore what Rudy Gobert is doing, but Zach, 1 through 5, that's really impressive.
It's just something that you can't compare Gobert and him because Gobert's good inside. He's great inside, one of the best, probably the best right now in the league inside. I put Embiid and Miles Turner up there as well, but Gobert certainly is the best inside with his length and everything. But for a guy who can shut down a center, a power forward like Julius Randle, and a point guard is very impressive. To have the speed to keep up with Russell Westbrook, I mean, you just can't beat that. It's just a perfect package. Again, I'd love to see him be a linebacker or a free safety with his kind of speed. He's insane, 6'10". With that being said, again, the voting happens by the AP and the coaches and all. I think they're smarter than whatever the sources on the key MVP ladder. You can't deny what Ben Simmons is doing this season. Joel Embiid quite possibly could be the same thing. But as we begin to go to break here and break down some of the other games tonight prior to our picks, Gavin, rest assured, UConn Huskies up 41-26. I imagine you've already checked as they are going to halftime. Coming up after this, the Sixers, 1 game up on the Brooklyn Nets. The Nets also play tonight without Kyrie. Happy birthday, by the way, as they go up against the Portland Trail Blazers in Portland. We will talk about those games as well as the Miami Heat, who are down right now to the Phoenix Suns after this.
We are now offering a new product on our Teespring. Wear a mask in public. We are now supporting a custom-designed mask with our logo on it. Purchase it today, and 10% goes to a foundation of our viewer's choice. It offers a full nose and mouth coverage, single-sided print, includes 2 2-inch elastic ear loops, non-medical grade product, and finally, $1 from every mask sale is donated to a nonprofit to feed children in need. Enjoy today's episode.
Kyrie Irving is out for Family Matters. I guess it is to celebrate his birthday, which is what 1 year ago did get him in a little bit of trouble. Or maybe his sister's birthday in the summer without a mask on. That got him in a little trouble. But unlike the media, I do like to pay attention to more of the positive side. Kyrie speaking the other day about determination, a couple other things. Naomi Osaka, I believe, resharing that video on her Instagram. A lot of positives to him. But bottom line is, again, happy birthday to him. But he is going to be out of the lineup for this Western Conference road trip. Kevin Durant's still out. I'm not really sure what the deal is with Kevin Durant making a lot of money and has not played in quite some time. Expected to be back for the playoffs, though. So if I'm even as a biased Sixers fan, I am going to sit here and be honest with you. The Brooklyn Nets are fine. However, the 1 seed is very important. It's precious. I'm not sure if you watched. I think it was Lord of the Rings with the little dude saying my precious. I've not watched it. I've seen the scene. I am for some reason good at the impression. No, I will not be doing it. So don't ask.
We can't get it. We can't get it live.
But in all honesty, look, the 1 seed is important. Sixers are 1 game up. They play tonight against Golden State. If they win and the Blazers win against Brooklyn, Sixers can have 2 games. And if they can hold a game and a half to 2 games on Brooklyn by the time Joel Embiid comes back, at some point, yes, the season will end and they can maintain that 1 spot. 1 game at a time. That's how I'm going to say right now. The Sixers just need to keep it 1 game at a time. Let's take a look at the rest of the Eastern Conference standings as every single day it continues to get shaken up more and more. At 30-13 with the second best record in the NBA, 76ers at the 1 seed. Brooklyn Nets 1 game back at the 2. Milwaukee Bucks only a game and a half back at the 3 seed. Miami Heat are 8 games back at the Sixers, as well as the Atlanta Hawks. Hornets, Knicks, and Celtics respectively also wrap up the top 8 seeds. But the 2 teams, of course, that will be involved in the play-in, assuming all conditions are met, are the Chicago Bulls and the Indiana Pacers. Toronto Raptors continue to fall out Cleveland Cavaliers, Washington Wizards, Orlando Magic, and of course Detroit Pistons. Way out of the question. Boston Celtics continue to have flashes of greatness and flashes of not greatness. Not much to know about them. They're not really a threat right now. Indiana as well, another team that we saw fall out. But let's talk about for a minute here the Atlanta Hawks. The termination of their head coach, replacing him. They've won on a pretty big hot streak since then. Won 8 of their last 9. They're sitting right in 5th place right now, tied with the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat are on pace to lose to the Phoenix Suns unless they do find a way to magically come back here in the final few minutes. They're down by 20. But Gavin, I'll ask you this. How impressed are you right now with the Atlanta Hawks turnaround?
Well, I'm very impressed, Zach. You fire your head coach. No one expected you to do that. You go 8-2 in your last 10 games. You make a run for table. Zach, you were on the outside looking in. You were the 10th seed. You're in the play-in with the 7 and 8, but you make a run. You're sitting 5th, and this all comes to firing your head coach, Zach. Trae Young finally, and Trae Young, Zach Collins, and Cam Reddish, and everybody got going on down there. They're putting some nice going on.
They got pieces.
They got pieces, and Zach, it's like Brooklyn 2 years ago. They had nice pieces. They all played well together, and they won a couple games, and they're going to fall into the playoffs. They're not going to make much noise. They're going to fall into the playoffs. But, Zach, my biggest question is, can they keep it up? Zach, you go on a nice little win streak. You just lost. You're coming off. You have to have a bounce-back game. You have to face adversity. Not every night you're going to have a win. And apparently this year, the Eastern Conference is just as tight as the West this year. So, Zach, one bad week, you'll be on the outside looking in. One good week, you'll be even higher up in the standings. Zach, they have one good week. I'm expecting the Hawks to cool off, but not too much.
The season's coming to an end sooner than later. We got 20? We calculated it earlier, Gavin. We got 20-some games left here in the final stretch. And so I think for them, they need to hold on. It's like Bitcoin for those of you that are into that. The 4 to 10 seeds are very volatile. Every single team is within 3 games of each other. Eastern Conference continues to shape up differently every night. Boston could be the 3 to 4 seed by next week, and Atlanta could be the 8 to 9 seed. It takes 2 or 3 straight losses to do that. With that being said, we do have a fresh tweet from Adrian Wojnarowski we're going to report on after this. You are watching the More Than Philly Sports Network Sixers pregame live. We'll be continuing with our score prediction, the line, as well as injury updates here in just a minute. But we do have some fresh breaking news from Adrian Wojnarowski. The Toronto Raptors are actively discussing Kyle Lowry and Norman Powell in trade talks that are expected to extend into Wednesday and, of course, the trade deadline on Thursday. Philadelphia and Miami have shown interest in Lowry, but both have shown restraint in how far they'll go to get a deal. It is obvious that Daryl Morey has intentions to make a move. Kyle Lowry would be pretty dang close to ideal for Philadelphia. Again, for those just tuning in, some breaking news out of the Twitter world from ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. It does appear at this moment that the Raptors are in the market as sellers. Just won the NBA title 2 years ago. However, this team, way out of it right now, playoff-wise. They can shake up and make some noise. They've been struggling. They've had some issues internally with head coach Nick Nurse, a couple of players having some issues. Kyle Lowry, Philadelphia native, could be the missing piece. The question is, how far will Daryl Morey and the Philadelphia Sixers go to acquire the 6-foot point guard from Villanova?
Well, Zach, first of all, you got to think about Kyle Lowry's rec track. I mean, Kyle Lowry's a great player. Zach, go back to the game versus Milwaukee where we were talking about the Sixers just needed mid-range shots and they couldn't knock anything down. Kept shooting threes. Kyle Lowry is your guy when you need those mid-range shots, when you need those clutch time buckets. He's not no Jimmy Butler, Zach, no by any means. But in a moment like that, when you need a mid-range shot, that's your guy, Zach. But you know where my biggest criticism is for Kyle Lowry? It's the playoffs. Zach, we know this move that the Sixers are going to make is for the playoffs, Zach. It's for them to solidify that this team is trying to go for a championship. Zach, you heard Daryl Morey. He says championship or bust. Zach, we know Kyle Lowry, doesn't really show up in the playoffs. I don't know if he even plays during the playoffs. Zach, he has one championship to him, but don't forget, there is a video out on the internet that the guy trolling Kyle Lowry said that's 2 points. He gave you 2 points. Zach, I wouldn't go, and a King's ransom for Kyle Lowry. if I can get him away without, and I'm not moving Danny Green, Zach, I like the experience of Danny Green. If I can move him for
The new
something
take from
else,
Gavin.
a new take, yes. I wasn't fond of Danny Green, Zach, but you need the experience. But Zach, if I can get Kyle Lowry for a second round pick and maybe a player that's not going to hurt too much, let's do it. Let's do it.
I expect Tyrese Maxey to be in that deal again. Unfortunately, Danny Green may be thrown in there for salary purposes, some picks. I don't think it'll be a reach too much for Philadelphia. I think Toronto may make folding on the bluff. I think that a guy like Tyrese Maxey they may like to build and construct around. But this is going to be an interesting story to continue to develop. We'll probably do a special on Thursday about the trade deadline. I expect a move to be made by the 76ers. It might not be Lowry. It could be another experienced guy. I saw a couple of names thrown out there, George Hill, a few others. So we'll continue to keep track of that. The Sixers, again, Kyle Lowry played his best in the playoffs when he wasn't the guy, when the pressure wasn't on him. Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, Ben Simmons, those need to be the guys. Lowry can be a nice complementary piece. So if you're going to trade for somebody, it needs to not be for more than what you would expect as a complementary piece. His great days are behind him, of course, in Houston, Memphis, and, of course, with his ring in Toronto. But when he has at least another superstar, a guy like Kawhi Leonard, you can see that in Joel Embiid being the MVP that he's been this year. There's a good chance that you could be able to get it. I trust Daryl Morey to make the right move, surround the Sixers with the right pieces. I'm excited to see it. We're less than 48 hours from the trade deadline. But, Gavin, we're 5 minutes from the official tip-off. Let's get to it. Sixers minus 175 tonight to win. Of course, let's talk about the injury report. 76ers will be without Joel Embiid with his knee injury. Seth Curry out with his ankle injury. For the Warriors, Steph Curry is officially ruled out with a tailbone injury. Eric Paschall and James Wiseman both expected to play. They were out due to some health and safety protocols, but they will be playing tonight. Taking a look now, the Sixers have been pretty good against the spread this year. They've been a pretty safe bet, but of course the over-under is 216.5. That's anticipating 108, 109 points per team. Sixers have been playing at a pretty low pace against a team like the New York Knicks, but they tend to score a little more than that. I'm going to say the Sixers win 115 to 106, and I will be taking the over.
Zach, I was close the last time we did this, right? I think I missed it by Milwaukee outscored me, and I vice versa scored. Zach, I'm feeling over, but but not by a lot. Zach, I'm gonna go 110 to 95. That might be a little bit under the math.
That's just a tad bit under. Yep.
Okay, well I'm going with the under then. Excuse me, apologies. I'm going with the under.
It doesn't shock me if a random player on that team finds a way to go off against the Sixers tonight. I'm not sure who it would be. It's just a trend in Philadelphia for a Warrior to go off. But let's see how the Sixers do tonight. Danny Green knows that team, pretty familiar with them as he went up against them in the NBA Finals a few years ago. But yes, I expect the 76ers to win tonight. Matisse Thybulle, keep doing your thing, dude. Keep shooting, keep stealing the ball. Furkan Korkmaz has to come out there. The Sixers need to come out on all cylinders, but most importantly, set a tempo, set a tone tonight. Crush this team early. Take them out of the game. Get your starters rested. You're playing the healthy Clippers team, a Lakers team that's not going to be healthy, but you're going to be playing a healthy Nuggets team all within the next week. The 76ers need to maximize their minutes early in the games. I want to see some younger guys play tonight, which means that the bench gets emptied, mostly because you are up by a lot. I expect it by the 76ers tonight. I'm going to take the Sixers to win this game pretty confidently because there's nobody who's going to be on the floor for the Warriors that is honestly scary. Against Steph Curry out, he's going to be reevaluated within the next 4 games. But I don't know. I mean, this team has had some pretty good success against Golden State throughout the years, including when they were up in Oracle before they moved across the Bay. So I'm expecting a pretty safe win for the Sixers tonight. And I will make a bold take. Ben Simmons will attempt and make a 3-pointer.
Of course, it'll be at the end of the game, Zach, when it doesn't.
No, I think it's going to be a 3-pointer when it matters. That's the prediction outside of the last 5 minutes in the fourth quarter when it's meaningless. I do think Ben Simmons does attempt and make a 3 tonight.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. And if Zach's wrong, I get to come on tomorrow and tell me that he's wrong. No, but listen, for me, the X factor is like you're right. Matisse Thybulle, keep doing what you're doing, but that's not my X factor for tonight. It's going to be the bench, Zach. We have to get the starters out quickly. Zach, the one thing the Sixers are known to do is play down to your opponent. Zach, they will toy around with the opponents, if they're not better than you. Guys, teams like the New York Knicks, no disrespect to Julius Randle, but guess what? You guys didn't deserve to be in the game with us twice, back-to-back times. Zach, I want them, like you said, I want them to take the fun out the game early for the Warriors. I want them to crush them. Zach, I know that that's hard for me to say. Me being a Steph Curry guy, he's not playing tonight. And let's roll with the bench. I hope we blow the Warriors out to the point that the bench is the reason why the game gets close again. But all in all, Zach, I'm all for Ben Simmons and the crew just getting the job done tonight.
Look, I agree. I think it's games you're supposed to win. And for those of you who remember the Brett Brown era, this Sixers team always played down to their opponents. They kept them in it too much longer than they needed to. Again, Eric Paschall, a couple other players that you don't really know, and you take a look at. I think that, frankly, for the Sixers tonight, they need to go out there. They need to get it done. You're without your MVP and Joel Embiid, but they've proved they can win. They figured out a way to win these games. And so for those of you still sticking around, it seems like we do have a good amount of you. We are going to slowly go into the beginning of the Sixers game. As a little bit of a watch along, I do have the game live streaming here. It's going to be an interesting one tonight, I think, for the 76ers, but the Golden State Warriors as well. The question then for them, Gavin, is what needs to happen tonight for the Warriors to be able to come out on top?
You need to score. Zach, your guy, Steph Curry. My guy, Steph Curry, not your guy, my guy. You don't have your scorer. Who's going to be that guy to step up? It's not going to be Draymond Green. Draymond Green doesn't score the ball no more. James Wiseman's too inconsistent. And Eric Paschall, he can give you 40 at one point, but it's like I don't really believe in Eric Paschall that much to continue to be a head case to do it. So I don't know. But if you're the Warriors, you have to identify your score and you have to roll through it. It's like the New York Knicks, it was Alec Burks. It wasn't Julius Randle. Alec Burks kept the New York Knicks in the game. I believe it will be Eric Paschall tonight. It's been a while since he played due to health and safety protocols. So let's see where it goes from there.
Again, let's talk about the history between the coaches. Steve Kerr, of course, coming in for the Golden State Warriors in 2015, his rookie season as a head coach, taking down the Los Angeles Clippers and Doc Rivers. I think that this is going to be quite the revenge game. I'm sure there's a little bit of emotion every time that they play each other. Also, quite the family tree going on there between the Golden State Warriors. No Steph Curry, his brother-in-law is on the team. Steph, of course, married to Doc Rivers' daughter. That whole thing gets pretty interesting. But just another side note, we are waiting the tip-off here. And, of course, tonight, let's get the Sixers starting five. I'm still waiting to get the who will be starting at shooting guard tonight. But, Gavin, Tony Bradley as a starter, but how about Dwight Howard coming off the bench, not only doing a great job, looking like his old self in quite some ways, defensively and offensively, but how about the energy that he's been bringing to the floor and the veteran presence? I think, honestly, that was the most – like Seth Curry was a great signing in the offseason or trade. Danny Green was a great trade in the offseason. But how about Dwight Howard, a guy who clearly wanted to go back and run it back with his Los Angeles Lakers, tweeted out purple and gold on Twitter, deletes the tweet, and signed with the 76ers. Daryl Morey able to get him here. Of course, they had a history back in Houston. But how about a great job that he's been doing there for not only the bench, but even in clutch minutes, he's been the one at the 5 spot. Tony Bradley doing a good job filling his role as a starter, but when it matters the most, Dwight Howard's been in there. It's been Superman.
Well, Superman is back. It's not to the Orlando Superman that we all know and remember from, but Zach, he is the veteran in the locker room. He is the guy that rallies the bench, in my opinion. Zach, he stuffed Julius Randle in Philadelphia with the first time with fans being back. Julius Randle hit the deck, and I would never forget that. And why does that make me give me an energetic, Zach? Because guess what? Julius Randle deserved it. All right, he didn't deserve to be an All-Star. All right, I'm going to stick by it. Tobias Harris. All right,
he's having a pretty good year. I know your next bias comes into, but he's had a pretty good year.
Yeah, but he's not having a pretty good go at the second half of it. So I'm going to roll by that. But Zach, Dwight Howard is unlocking this talent, or I don't want to say a talent. I want to say he's unlocking this second gear, and he's showing the reason why he was a big part of the Lakers championship last year. Zach, was you're getting someone off the bench that not a lot of people, respect anymore. Zach, I'm gonna call it how it is. Not a lot of people respect, nor do they, give Dwight Howard any credit for what he does anymore. And he still can get the job done, Zach. He's not going to go out and grab you 20 rebounds, or get you 30 points. But, Zach, he can get you a nice little 15 and 10 off the bench. That's all you need, Zach. We need a backup center for this team. We never had one in a long time since Boban, and Boban wasn't really that great of a backup center. He was nice. He was a nice little character to have on the team.
Yeah, he was a fun 7'3" guy to have on the team, but he was not what this 76ers team needs. If they had Dwight Howard, they beat the Raptors in that series. The plus minus with Embiid on the floor was quite insane. So again, Sixers have yet to start. 13 minutes past the hour, but part of the national broadcast of the night, the Trailblazers game has gotten underway. 3-3, all tied up between the Nets and the Trailblazers. Of course, that game is important because the winner of that game, if it's the Blazers, then of course the Nets will drop half a game. If the Sixers win tonight, they'll get another game. It's all about security. It's all about kind of just holding down the fort, as we say, until Joel Embiid gets back.
Hold down the fort and defend home base. And Zach, next man up mentality. I mean, let's talk about when Joel Embiid went down. It felt like the season was over. It felt like
the whole city was holding their breath.
The whole city was holding their breath. Zach, if Joel Embiid went down with a season injury, you could have wrote the Sixers off just like that. Because Zach, we didn't know, and to this day, we didn't think that the Sixers were going to, be able to win 4 games without him. Zach, we saw what happened when he wasn't there, and they struggled to get any offense with him. Tobias Harris has stepped up when you needed him the most. He stepped up. He's been there. All-star should have been. Zach, Ben Simmons is playing. Out of his mind still defensively, but it's how they rallied around the big fella. It's how they continuously to keep going and keep the band moving. Zach, Brooklyn was around your tail. They still are. The fact that you went from being tied to now them being a game behind, and possibly you have a chance to gain your lead if they lose tonight versus Portland. It's just next man up mentality.
Yeah, without a doubt. Look, I think that for this Sixers team, they have to recognize what kind of position they're in. This is called opportunity. Sixers are down Joel Embiid and Seth Curry, but at the same time, you take a look at the team in the Brooklyn Nets, they are down Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. At the same time, they are also going to be down until they come back. It's probably going to be till the end of their little road trip. I think here's what we're getting in the final few minutes before the Sixers do tip off. The Sixers have an opportunity tonight, and I think that for them, they can really come out and fire on all cylinders early. If you take a team out of it, if you suck the life out of your opponent, wins become easy. You rest your guys in the fourth quarter. We saw it a few times this year. Sixers get it done tonight.
I hope so, Zach. We need this. This is a game that the team, that the Sixers would lose. And, Zach, I wouldn't be surprised if they did lose. And I know that's crazy to say. But if you watch this team, this is a trap game. Zach, we talk about trap games in football and in March Madness. But this is a trap game. This has upset written over it. I hope not, because there's a lot of stakes. Zach, we talk always about how the first seed versus the second seed versus the third seed is all about playoff position. It's about the respect. It's about you running the East. It's about keeping your reputation alive. Zach, we saw how quick this team can slip up. We had a nice lead over Brooklyn. Brooklyn caught fire fast. Zach, they caught fire fast, and they're right here. And you're basically playing against time for Joel Embiid's return, and you're playing against Brooklyn Nets as well. And obviously your opponent that night.
I mean, that's what the key is for this team. Also doing all-star things. But Ben Simmons has been struggling as of late. I will say that here as we wrap it up here. Sixers still yet to start on almost 20 minutes in. I got the live stream going. I'm checking Twitters in case anything went wrong, kind of when the OKC game with COVID. But I guess it's just a delay getting the national broadcast up and running. The Lakers game is running a little bit late. I'm just reading my sources now. The Lakers game.
Can I ask you a question?
Pelicans just ended, so they are expected to switch over now. But yeah, go ahead, Gavin.
Let me ask you a question since you just brought the Lakers, because this is a perfect time to ask you, because I haven't got a chance. Are you okay? Are you okay? Zach, I haven't.
I am, because best players are out and they're losing by 17 to a team like the Pelicans.
Zach, are you sure? It's okay. It's like, we could talk about off this show. I know. See, ladies and gentlemen, big Lakers guy right here. This guy is.
I know I'm wearing purple and gold. That's more of a different reason for wearing it. But
Zach, I mean, you're quick to change the purple and gold background. Listen, I had to call DeJuan today and make sure he was okay. I have to make sure you're okay. Look, when LeBron James went down, I thought about you, Zach. I thought about you. And then I thought about the standings. I thought about it as a whole. I said, man, the Lakers are just one bad week from being out of the West. And that made me smile. That really did, because, ladies and gentlemen,
it's gonna be all right though.
Are you sure? But I don't believe that. I don't believe it.
I'm positive. Look, on another note, not to take it off too quickly, but starters tonight are official: Ben Simmons, Furkan Korkmaz, Tony Bradley, Tobias Harris, and Danny Green. Not too much of a surprise. Furkan Korkmaz continues to play well. Expect to see at the shooting guard spot Matisse Thybulle quick to come off the bench. At that 2 spot, we are getting ready to tip off. Finally, it is 10:18 p.m. on the East Coast, 7:18 on the West Coast. Gavin, anything else you want to say as we prepare to wrap up today's pregame live?
Real quick, first of all, I want to thank everybody for watching. This is West Coast start. Zach, this is new for us. We haven't tried a West Coast game. And Zach, finally for me, UConn 52-32. Zach, Paige Beckers with 16 points. I'm probably gonna go turn the game on after this, but yeah, Zach.
Got Sixers, got UConn, lots going on. Getting ready to tip off. Just perfect timing. Thank you to everybody for watching today. Like, comment, subscribe if you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook. Stay tuned for some special announcements as we try to get more videos on there. We've been providing content for those new here for almost a year now, since June of last year. We were able to get this began. So thank you so much to everybody who's had the chance to watch us, support us. Unite through sports. We appreciate everything that you've all done for us as far as supporting us. Thanks again, everybody. Enjoy the Sixers game tonight. Enjoy UConn for Gavin, of course, and all of our women's basketball fans out there. And have a great, great night.
Have a good one, everybody. Spread the love.
If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't. In addition, hit that bell icon and set it to all to get reminded of when we go live and when we post excerpts of our videos. Again, thanks for